Good afternoon. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Muchuma. Let's interact on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. We begin with health concerns, and a section of health unions are this afternoon holding a press conference. My colleague Nancy Okware is on that bit. Let's cross over and listen in.
Is a matter that, as a union, we are not taking kindly. So on Monday, let the policemen prepare, because now we are coming in large numbers. You thought it was doctors only. Now all the public sector unions, plus the private sector unions, are going to march to the Ministry of Health and the National Treasury. DSG. I'm even wondering why you are asking for apology. They are apologizing for what? As we are coming on Monday, with or without apology. Whether you apologize, that is your problem. Our members demanded yesterday that we call for a procession. So I cannot tell them that now the government has apologized. We are coming for you on Monday. Thank you very much.
A section of health officials raising their concerns after yesterday demonstrations where one of their members was injured. KMPDU Secretary General Davji Atela, who is currently nursing injuries at a Nairobi hospital, and this as they want the matter addressed. My colleague Nancy Okware is on that bit. She'll be able to give us the developments as they unfold in the day. In other news making headlines this afternoon, the National Assembly has rejected a bill that sought to make it a criminal offense for employers to call their employees after working hours. Members of Parliament questioned the legality of the Employment Amendment Bill 2022, sponsored by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, claiming it is not only criminalized a civil contract between an employer and employee, but also created legal minefields that would end up contradicting Kenya's labor policies.
The Employment Amendment Bill 2022, sponsored by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei, proposed employees be granted the right to disconnect from their employer, effectively making it criminal for an employer to call their employees past working hours. The senator argued that employees should have a right to disconnect in the digital age and to address the rising number of employee burnout cases.
I want to encourage the employees. Even the employer should provide the employees with the office line. Say that when it reaches 5 p.m., you switch off that line. Or even if they are using your normal line, switch off or even block the employer from calling you.
Having drawn sharp criticism from the Federation of Kenya Employers, the bill was procedurally submitted to the National Assembly for debate. When it came up for debate in the second reading Thursday evening, the Labour Standing Committee set the stage for its rejection, questioning the rationale of its passage in the Senate.
The bill doesn't consider some people like the domestic workers. A domestic worker is with the employer throughout. Now, where does this connection? Because the bill now should cover all employees, should not target a few and leave the others. Now, for a domestic worker, the bill should have clearly indicated at what stage should the domestic worker disconnect from the employee and they are living in the same premises.
I would have wished an amendment to the Employment Act would have literally been directed towards that line. By directing us on mundane issues, hopelessly unproductive issues, is a terrible waste of national resources.
Kangema MP Peter Kihungi, who is a member of the Labour Committee and the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee Chair Gitonga Murugara, led the chorus of opposition to the bill, accusing the drafter of the bill of seeking to criminalize a civil agreement between employers and employees through the proposal to fine violators of the proposal 500,000 shillings.
I am not very sure where this bill has been lifted from, but it seems to be actually in contravention of employment laws in the country, and especially bearing in mind that employment law is civil law. It is not criminal law, it is civil law. It is based on contract between two persons, an employer and an employee.
As a committee, we say that the issue of employment is a civil relationship and should not be given a criminal liability. When I employ an employee, I should not be found myself maybe on issues of management in my work, whereby I can be declared criminal by contacting my employee. He says, if you contact an employee after working hours, you are liable for a fine of 500,000 or an imprisonment of 1 year.
Legislators say the legal minefields in the bill do not only expose employers, but are likely to disrupt the labor market.
I'm surprised that this bill has continued from the Senate all the way to this House, when in fact the Public Service Commission rejected this bill. To quote to itself, Central Organization of Trade Union rejected this bill.
It is not clear, even from this bill, when the bill talks of only in cases of emergencies, but which are these emergencies? It is not stated which is the emergency and which is not.
FKE, in its opposition to the bill, claimed the proposed amendments would negate the essence of managing enterprises freely to meet the demands and challenges posed by the market. John Jacob Curia, Lunchtime News.
All right, youths in Mpeketoni, Lamu West Sub-County have undergone a sensitization program to empower them with essential knowledge about the roles of various government offices. This is after recent research by the Siasa Place organization that showed that the youth lacked awareness of the functions of several government offices. The one-day program involved sporting activities organized by local authorities in conjunction with community leaders and educational institutions. The program sought to equip the youth with a comprehensive understanding of how the government offices operate and where to seek assistance when needed.
Kwa hiyo kwa Lamu, tumegundua kwamba vijana haswa, first of all, hawajui watauliza nani nini. Kama barabara imestall, for example, unaweza pata wanauliza hiyo swali the area governor, for example, na hiyo si jukumu yake. Hawajui functions of the MCA, the three of them, hawajui ni gani. So hiyo ndo kazi ambayo tunafanya kusisitiza, especially kwa grassroots.
The specific activity here is what we call the community sports dialogue, which essentially is here to bring along youths together so that we have a dialogue with regards to the governance issues that they face here in the ground.
Hawa vijana waweze kufanyiwa michezo kama hii kwa wingi ili waweze pengine kuletwa pamoja na waweze kuja kuhusishwa katika hali ya kumake decisions katika society.
Vijana wetu ni tuwaingilie, tuwafundishe polepole, kama ni wale ambao wako talented na michezo, tuwasaidie kwenda ile gazi ingine, wale ambao wanataka kusoma tuwasaidie wasome, na wale ambao wanataka mambo ya kiufundi wafundishwe hizo courses za kiufundi waendelee.
Kenya Peasants League took to the streets to protest what it terms unfavorable working policies and decisions by the World Trade Organization that it claims are interfering with the working of small-scale farmers. The farmers' organization claims that the policy in place discourages the use of local seed banks, which are widely used by small-scale farmers. The group that was protesting in the Kangemi market is now calling for a public participation forum from the stakeholders where their ideas can also be heard before any policy affecting them is enacted. They also raised concern about the chemicals brought by multinational companies, alleging that they have a lot of side effects on their crops.
They are really making a lot of policies, but they don't want to know how the small-scale farmer at per ground, what the challenges they're facing them, how these policies they're implementing are affecting us either directly or indirectly.
Especially when it comes to prices. Utapata saa zenye wanafungua hizi borders for importation of goods and services, sisi kama wakulima ndo tunaumia.
Unapata wanaoingiza katika madeni mbegu ambazo zinathuru ardhi zetu, na pia hao ndio wahusika wakuu wa climate change.
Tragedy struck Ndumberi village, leaving over 50 families without shelter following a fire incident that reduced their houses to ashes. Families recounted the horror as the fire tore through their timber houses, leaving nothing but devastation and loss. Joy Joanne with the details.
This was the situation in Kiambu. The destruction left behind telling of the stories of families who lost everything to the angry flames that swept through their houses.
Sisi tunahusunika kwa sababu ya fire brigade ya tagu wakati moto ilianza kuanza hapa. Wamekaa sana kabla ya kufika hapa na nyumba imechomeka yote.
Chomeka mizabao na hakuna kitu watu wameweza kuchukua hata kidogo, lakini kwa bahati tumeshajua hakuna mtoto wa mtu amechomekea huko, isipokuwa wenye walikuwa wanajaribu kukasana na hii moto.
The families are calling for assistance from the county government.
Ningeuliza gavana wa Matangi kwa sababu hao watu ni watu wamekuwa wakikaa kwa plot na zimechomeka nyumba zote. So tunaomba usaidizi wa haraka sana kwa hizo familia.
In the midst of despair, acts of heroism emerged. Gabriel Nganga risked his life to rescue 2 children trapped inside one of the burning houses, sustaining injuries in the process.
Kwanza mimi naongea hapa, nimeumia kwa mkono, hata mkiangalia hiyo mkono mimi nimechomeka ikijaribu kuokoa moyo ya watoto.
Sisi kama county government ya Kiambu, ili tuweze kujua ni wapi tutawasaidia, ni nini tutawasaidia nayo, ama ni wapi pia tutawatuma ili waweze kusaidika.
Elsewhere, Kiambu mechanics were also counting losses as their garage was engulfed in flames, destroying 8 vehicles and causing extensive damage to their workshop. Wanyeki Waithaka, a mechanic at the garage, expressed gratitude for the prompt arrival of the fire department, pledging to rebuild.
Asala ya mamilioni enyewe hatujadhibitia ni pesa ngapi, lakini ni pesa mingi sana. Na askari wajua walifanya haraka, wakaja wakasaidia. Hata askari wetu tuamshukuru sana, kama angelikuwa mlegevu hii yote ingekuwa imeisha.
Joan Junge for Lunchtime News.
Anti-gambling crusaders are decrying the increasing negative effects of the addictive habit among the youth aged 18 to 24 years across the country. The group from several non-governmental organizations have begun sensitizing the youth on the negative impact of the practice amid calls for responsible gambling practices. Additionally, they are advocating for the country to have a national conversation on its effects, the current state of joblessness and desperation of youths that is driving them to gambling in a desperate attempt to earn a living. According to Irene, the director of vocational training in Kericho County, says the county government has put in place measures to minimize gambling, which includes enrolling young people into vocational training centers.
Conversation, even if not just against gambling per se, but just talk about the effects. And in so doing, we are also talking about the joblessness, the desperation of our youth, and the opportunities that are there in the various counties.
Gambling has become a menace in the society. Our youth, young mothers, young men are being destroyed by gambling. Addiction is real. Addiction is real. Families are disintegrating because of betting, and we need to actually sensitize the society about gambling and how we can handle the money so that it cannot go beyond what we can handle.
Isiolo County government has suspended admission of new bodies from outside the county to the Isiolo Referral Hospital morgue. According to the county government, the facility is full to capacity. Area Deputy Governor James Loasa, who is also the County Executive Committee member for health, the hospital mortuary has a capacity of accommodating 12 bodies, but currently has more than its capacity as a result of many unclaimed bodies. Police have been now notified to redirect all bodies to other facilities.
The mortuary is not fully functional. The machines are functioning limitedly because one machine is operational, but together with the other methods of reservations, we are only able to maybe take care of bodies originating from the facility. We are directing the police to ensure that we are not receiving any bodies from outside the facility. We have done our advertisements for the repair of our machines. The tender will be closing on 8th of March, and by then, I believe we'll be awarding the person the tender to repair our machines so that within the next 1 month, it will be operational.
Kenya Marine Fisheries and Socio-Economic Development has donated over 18 million Kenyan shillings to support vulnerable secondary and college students from poor families in Kilifi County. Speaking during the issuance of the check, Kilifi County government officials, led by Kilifi's project coordinator, Lucy Kapombe, said this will go a long way to empower the youth to contribute significantly to the socio-economic development of the county. The project will benefit a total of 130 students in different categories, including those pursuing certificates in vocational training institutes.
Kwa kweli matatizo yako na kuna yani tuseme wazazi wengi hawawezi kujimudu kupeleka wanafunzi wao shule. Lakini uzuri ni kwamba unajua hiyo pia nayo imekuja wakati kama serikali ya kaunti imekuja na mikakati kabambo ya kuhakikisha kwamba wanafunzi wanapata scholarship.
Tuko na mikakati ya kutafuta kama kuna wafadhili wengine ya kuhakikisha kwamba hawa wanafunzi wetu ambao wako na shida ya kulipa karo tunawalipia kwa shule za secondary, kwa colleges na universities. Kwa hivyo mimi ninashukuru.
There is a lot shaping the news this afternoon. We are taking our first commercial break. We'll be back with more, including business and sports. Stay with us.
Yes, I am getting you loud and clear.
Little body, boom, 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 boom. You will not believe your eyes when you see her. She is very masubu.
The only time that I cry and fight my tears is when I peel an onion.
When you want my heart to jump out of my chest.
Don't worry, Kamene. I can always hold your heart whenever it decides to jump out of your chest.
Uyane, kwani wana moyo kwa mkono yako is? Yay! Shots fired!
My favorite faces. How are you all today?
Classmates.
Ushaipata na ule mama anafanya kazi kwa Mama Feli?
Majavali hatuna shida naye, inakuaje amekuwa involved?
Huyo mwanamke ni kama mchawi.
Kuna evidence?
Na nikuulize, hii Biblia wewe unasoma, wewe inakusaidia kweli?
Haki usianzishe vita leo tafadhali.
Kama inakuaga inakusaidia, ungekuwa mke mzuri sana sasa.
Mambo yenu na Jenny imefika wapi?
Kila kitu kiko sawa. Next week pia inafanya mpeleke date.
Huyo jamaa wako anatafutwa na polisi.
No, this is a man you are head over heels in love with. You even got pregnant for. For all I care, he can rot in jail. Jane, what exactly are you trying to tell me? Pete is still seeing that woman. Unaye pia madharau yake imezidi sasa. Well, that's why I want to leave Pete for good. Hapana. Mwanaume hawezi kusnachiwa kama hataki. Kwani yeye ni kibeti? I just want my respect.
Glad you're watching the Lunchtime News. Welcome back. The Kenya Society for Deaf Children has launched a level 2 clinic for the ear, eye and throat impaired patients. Through the facility, the patients will be able to access treatment at an affordable rate. Kenya Society for Deaf Children Chairman Francis Nganga reiterated the need for stakeholders to advocate for the health, education and welfare of deaf children in the country. The facility will be based in Upper Hill, Nairobi.
Na hii ni kwa sababu society imegundua ya kuwa watoto wengi ambao hawasikii wako na shida sana, na hapa tunawasaidia ndio wapate hearing aids na vifaa vingine vyote.
All the same, we cannot proud ourselves and say we are as good as those who are visually impaired or the physically impaired, because those ones can hear, can talk, and can grasp quickly what the teachers are saying. But for the deaf, you have to learn a concept and interpret that as a concept for the child to understand what you are teaching.
The passion with us as a union has actually caused us to sit and say the deaf child must be visible in this country. So we've come here to declare total visibility, and especially for this society where you are the chair.
Residents of informal settlements in Kakamega and Mumias municipalities are upbeat after the government and development partners start infrastructure upgrades of 5 slums. The residents have welcomed the initiative being undertaken under the Kenya Settlement Improvement Project, KSIP, saying it will guarantee them a dignified living. The World Bank and the French Development Agency are funding the project to the tune of 268 million shillings. The project will see an upgrade of 3 slums in Mumias municipality and 2 slums in Kakamega municipality.
We look forward to having even better houses in these informal settlements. But what exists is on the contrary. Poor housing, poor infrastructure, poor lighting, poor waste management, and all those have occasioned a lot of risks to the residents. And we know if we improve all those, then the levels of residents in those informal settlements will be a bit humane, not subhuman the way it is today as we're talking.
Right, let's get back to the capital. The International Wheelchair Service Forum is underway in the county. My colleague Adan Ibrahim is currently interacting with Gertrude Musuruve, who is a senator in the country. Let's cross over and listen in.
Okay, I'm Dr. Gertrude Musuruve in Nima, and I'm a lecturer at Jomo Kenyatta University, which is one of the universities in the Republic of Dr. William Samoei Ruto as the president. And I want to say that today we are launching the World Wheelchair Day at Jomo Kenyatta University. And the university has started a learning center to help students with physiotherapy know how to assemble and also know how to prescribe wheelchairs. One thing I need to say is that we need to implement what our president has been saying, that we need to ensure that we are also getting into manufacturing our own wheelchairs so that we do not actually just depend on what we get from donors. And I want to thank the president because of his support for persons with disabilities. My appeal to the president is that policies are there on persons with disabilities, but they need to be implemented. So I'm appealing to the president to stamp his foot and ensure that these policies are implemented in all government offices so that Article 54.2 is implemented. Article 54.2 states very clearly that persons with disabilities will be given elective and appointive positions. And this is something that has not fully been implemented. And I know that Dr. William Ruto is able to do that, and he has the ability to do that. And I'm appealing to him to ensure that all government sectors are doing that without a doubt at all. another appeal I'm making to the government is to ensure that persons with disabilities are genuinely employed and are represented and represent themselves. And my appeal to the president is that even in his office, there's need to have persons with disabilities to represent the cause of persons with disabilities in this country. At one point, Mwaora was there to represent persons with disabilities in the office of the cabinet, the office of the Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, when he was Prime Minister. But I know that if Dr. William Ruto insists that there must be persons with disabilities in his office representing the cause of persons with disabilities, people will walk their talk. So my appeal is that Dr. William Ruto, I know you very well, and you mean what you mean. Kindly hold persons with disabilities and ensure that they're employed in honorable positions. And I want to thank the president because of the appointing Hon Mwaora to be government spokesperson, because he has seen that persons with disabilities can be included. So my appeal is that you include more persons with disabilities in government positions, in big positions, and all government, parastatals need to do that, so that persons with disabilities are not surviving from a pity paradigm. Gone are the days when persons with disabilities survive from pity paradigm, where they're given handouts, wheelchairs, bread, and all that.
All right, International Wheelchair Service Forum underway at the Jomo Kenyatta University here in the county of Nairobi. We'll be getting details in regards to the seminar, subsequent bulletins. Time for business news. The Kenya Private Sector Alliance will offer market linkages to unemployed youth under a deal signed with the State Department for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. KEPSA Director in charge of Youth and Jobs, Ehud Gashugu, says businesses will be involved in training to ensure those in institutions of higher learning are skilled on what is directly aligned with the expectations of employers.
Ensuring that young people have not just the skill, but relevant skills is so critical. We've been saying that, of course, knowledge is very important, but having a skill is no longer an added advantage. In fact, maybe having knowledge is now the added advantage, where the core advantage is you having a skill.
Across the borders, a series of potential consolidation deals to boost profit margins across Europe's fragmented telecoms industry has put the battered sector under the spotlight. European telecom stocks are at fresh record lows relative to the market after years of investor neglect in markets dominated by mega caps that offer faster returns. Here now are the details of this and other stories making headlines across the globe.
Since early 2000, Europe's telecoms have seen their market cap collapse sixfold to $270 billion. Vodafone this week announced exclusive talks to sell its Italian arm to Swisscom for €8 billion, adding to other potential transactions in the making. The sector has been plagued by many players fighting for market share while facing costly network upgrades to meet growing demand for data. Telecom Italia is selling its fixed-line network to provide equity investor KKR for up to €22 billion. Meanwhile, starting from March 31st, Chinese and US airlines can operate a total of 100 scheduled passenger flights per week. China currently has regular passenger flights with 64 countries, of which 48 are Belt and Road partner countries. The number of flights between China and 22 countries, including Singapore, Australia, the United Arab Emirates, the United Kingdom and Italy, has exceeded the pre-epidemic level. Finally, passengers experienced considerable disruption on Thursday when buses, trams and metro trains ceased operating across much of Germany as local transport workers began a two-day strike. One of Europe's largest trade unions, Verdi, which represents 90,000 transport workers in Germany, called for the 48-hour warning strike in the ongoing national wage dispute in regional negotiations. Workers are demanding better working conditions, including shorter working weeks and extra compensation days for shift and night work. Public transport workers across Germany have joined the climate activists for a week of strike, culminating in a collective nationwide walkout and climate protest on Friday.
Now let's get to the fields. Time for Channel 1 Sports. President William Ruto has reaffirmed the government's commitment to upgrade various sporting facilities to modern world-class standards ahead of the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations to be co-hosted by Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. The head of state made the remarks while officiating the groundbreaking of the Talanta Sports City Stadium at the Jamhuri Showground, one of the primary host venues earmarked for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations.
Moja, Kapteni Dr. William Samuel Ruto. President William Ruto revealed that the renovation at the Moi International Sports Center Kasarani will be completed by the end of the year, while Buhungu and Kipchoge will be ready by next year.
We have to start at the bottom, right down to the foundation, which is infrastructure development. And that is why this groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the Talanta Sports City is therefore another step up the ladder of our bottom-up transformation of our sport and creative industry.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ruto made the remarks while officiating the groundbreaking of the Talanta Sports City Stadium at the Jamhuri Sports Club, one of the host venues earmarked for the 2027 African Cup of Nations.
I am in the village when I am here, and I am very happy that I have come to break ground in my former village to build a world-class stadium.
The head of state also said the government is committed to facilitate sportsmen and women in a bid to nurture upcoming talents.
So we are also imagining facilities in places like Mombasa, and we have made plans. I know there has been debate on the location of this project, and we have looked at Mombasa, and I'm glad to report to you, Your Excellency, that we have already prepared a plan to have a fitting facility in the coastal region.
Matches za Harambee Stars ziko kwa TV, matches za Harambee Stars ziko kwa TV, matches zote za ligi mbili kila weekend ziko KBC for free for all Kenyans, just from a small debate we had with you in March this year.
The Talanta Sports City Stadium is expected to be completed by the end of next year. For Lunchtime News, I'm Daniel.
Veteran rally navigator Job Njiru says a blend of youth and experience is key to Kenya's success at this year's WRC Safari Rally. Njiru endorsed young rally driver Saman Vora as a potential standout performer, along with experienced stars Mikhail Sachania and Africa Rally champion Karan Patel. Vora kicked off the Kenya National Rally Championship season by clinching victory in the Eldoret Rally. In addition to Vora, Njiru also threw his support behind local driver Carl Flash Tundo, citing his experience and skill as factors that could make him an exciting competitor to watch in the rally. The WRC Safari Rally Kenya will zoom off on 28th to 31st March in Naivasha.
Flying the Kenyan flag high would be Carl Tundo. I think he's up there. I think he's really going to take on the big boys. We have youngsters coming in like Saman Vora. I think he will be another good person to watch. And the two KCB drivers of Nikhil Sachania and looking at Karan Patel, I think always a bit of experience that they have, and it's, I mean, they'll be good guys to sort of watch.
31 minutes past the hour, we come to the end of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your feedback on our social media platforms. For more details on this and many more, do log on to www.kbc.co.ke. My name is Irene Muchuma Odem. On sign language interpretation, we have Byron Abule. Good afternoon. God bless you.
Our folktales were also made in such a way that a step parent is wicked and a step parent is evil.
Yes.
So it came from socialization. If you ask me, the word step is neither good nor bad. It is the meaning that we have given it.
These families or members of these families are the ones that put attitudes in our minds. Because we already start with step. Tena challenge inakuwa kubwa sana kama spouse si supportive. Na ndio spouse akuwe supportive, spouse anakuwa katikati. Alali huku sana na pande hii sana. That already is a diverse way of doing things. There is beauty in diversity.
Na msodakta mwanasoka popote ulipo, karibu tena sana katika show kubwa, show ambayo inaangazia mechi ambazo zitapigwa kuwania ubingwa wa FKF Premier League. Ni FKF Premier League preview show. Karibu sana, tutakuwa tunaangazia mechi ambazo zitapigwa baada ya kutoka mapumzikoni tarehe 2 mwezi Machi. Takriban mechi 9 zitakuwa zinaandaliwa katika nyuga tofauti za humu nchini. Karibu sana, mimi ni Isaac Lemoka, niko naye Mike Barnabe. Barnabe, mambo vipi?
Salama, nashukuru kuwa hapa tena kuzungumzia sport yetu ya Kenya. Ligi imeanza kuchacha kabisa, wamebanana namba 1 hadi 7.
Namba 1 hadi
yote anaweza akachukua.
Namba 1 hadi 7. Ukizungumzia namba 1 hadi 7, mechi ambazo zitapigwa tarehe 2, kuanzia tarehe 2 mwezi Machi, Gor Mahia watakuwa wanacheza na nambari 2. Kumbuka Gor Mahia wanaongoza ligi hiyo. Posta Rangers wanawafuata kwa karibu sana, japo wana pengo la alama 8. Watakuwa wanacheza na Gor Mahia na Posta Rangers, alafu Sofapaka waelekee kule Bidco United. FC Talanta wakaribishe Kakamega Homeboys, wakati Shabana FC watakuwa wenyeji wa Bandari FC. Kariobangi Sharks pia wataziumiza nyasi nyumbani dhidi ya Nairobi City Stars. Itakuwa ni siku ya Saturday, ukipenda siku ya Jumamosi. Alafu siku ya Sunday, siku ya Jumapili tarehe 3 mwezi Machi, Muhoroni Youth ndio watakuwa wenyeji wa Tusker FC. Ulinzi Stars pia watakuwa wanapepetana na Polisi kwa mara nyingine tena. Nzoia Sugar watakuwa wanasafiri kuelekea AFC Leopards. Derby nyingine hiyo, Ingo Derby, kabla ya Murang'a Seals kuweza kucheza na KCB katika siku hiyo ya Sunday, ukipenda Jumapili tarehe 3 mwezi Machi. Na moja kwa moja tuanze na mechi kubwa, Barnabe, kwa sababu Gor Mahia wanaongoza ligi, wanafuatwa kwa karibu sana na vijana wa Posta Rangers. Timu zote mbili ziliandikisha ushindi katika michuano iliyopita. Mechi hii imekaa vipi?
Ukiangalia wote wamefanya vizuri katika mechi zao 5 ambazo zimepita. Lakini kikubwa ni kwamba Gor Mahia wana uwezo mkubwa wa kuwasimamisha Rangers, kwa sababu wanautaka huu ubingwa. Na wakati watakapokuwa wanapiga Rangers, basi itakuwa ni plus kubwa sana kwao. Watakuwa wamepanua mwanya wa alama kati yao na viumbe hao wananyaraka. Na ukiangalia kikubwa ni kwamba iwapo pia watamfunga Rangers, watakuwa basi wanasaidia timu nyingi ambazo ziko pale nyuma. Kwa hivyo najua sana kwamba Gor wamesimama vizuri. Hata hivyo Posta Rangers pia wanaweza kuleta surprise kubwa, maana mechi 3 katika mechi 5 ambazo wamecheza sio rahisi.
Bila shaka nakumbuka Posta Rangers katika mechi 15 walizocheza hawajafungwa zaidi ya magoli 2.
Kweli. Kweli, na hiyo ni jambo lingine la kuweza kuwashabikia na kuwashangilia, kwa sababu inaonekana defense yao inafanya vizuri, mabeki wanajikaza jinsi inavyostahili, na tumeona sana kumekuwa na taabu ya ufungaji mabao katika ligi nzima. Hata hivyo timu yote ambayo inaweza kujikwamua katika kufunga, basi inaweza hata kubeba, maana hatujaona timu ambayo inapiga mabao 3, 4 mfululizo. inakuwa ni ngumu.
Inakuwa ni ngumu sana. Nakumbuka Gor Mahia pia wamekuwa wakicheza nyumbani, wamekuwa wakicheza vizuri sana, wamekuwa wakizuia. Lakini tutakuwa tunategemea wachezaji kina Austin Odhiambo, kuna kina Benson Omala, kadhalika Felix Oluoch wa Posta Rangers alihusika pakubwa katika mechi iliyokamilika kufunga penalty.
Sio tu Felix peke yake, wengi ni wazuri tu Posta, hata goalkeeper mzuri. Kwa hivyo Omala pia Omala tunamwangazia kwa sababu akona hiyo pressure ya kupanua pengo la ufungaji kati yake na wengine kina Okelo. Kwa hiyo ni rahisi sana kwake kupata mabao. Hata hivyo ni ngumu dhidi ya Posta Rangers. Wanazuia vizuri na wanajua kwamba huyu miguu yote anaweza kutumia na ana uwezo wa kushoot, ana uwezo wa kuingia na kuangaisha mabeki.
Na kuangaisha mabeki sio. Tuangazie mechi nyingine ambayo itapigwa katika uwanja wa Thika Stadium. Itakuwa ni mechi itakayohusisha Bidco United, watakuwa nyumbani dhidi ya Batoto Bamungu Sofapaka.
Ni kweli mechi hii Bidco wanachechemea, inakuwa ngumu kwa sababu ukiangalia mechi 2 mfululizo sio kitu kidogo, inakuwa moral, inakuwa nguvu, na kile ambacho nadhani kinawasumbua sana ni kupoteza mechi rahisi kama ile ya Murang'a Seal, kwa sababu wangeteka advantage kidogo. Sofapaka wameonekana kuamka kidogo, pointi 8 katika mechi 5 ambazo wamecheza. Sio mbaya ikizingatiwa kwamba katika wiki 2-3 zilizopita mwezi wa kwanza walikuwa vibaya zaidi, walikuwa wanashuka. Kwa hivyo haitakuwa kibarua kidogo kwa Bidco United.
Haitakuwa kibarua kidogo kwa Bidco United ikizingatiwa pia Sofapaka katika mechi zao 6 walizocheza wamekuwa wakiruhusu wapinzani kuwafunga. Ni
kweli clean sheets zimekataa,
hususan away matches. Zimekataa
na nafikiri ni kitu wanafaa kuangazia. Wakati mwingine ukiwa unaongoza bao moja mtungi, timu nyingi unapata inapura. Hiyo mpira haifiki kwenye upande wa mabeki, wanatoa, inapigwa tu. Na unajua sasa ile philosophy ya mpira ni kwamba bora ushindi. Na hapa Sofapaka wao wanataka kuweka chini zaidi, wanataka kucheza game ya mpinzani na inakuwa ni ngumu.
Inakuwa ni ngumu. Bidco pia wana uraibu wa kuweza kucheza mechi 6 ambapo kati ya hizo mechi 6 walizocheza hawajapata home draw. Na hawajafunga pia magoli zaidi ya 1, sio?
Ni shida, inaonekana huenda kukawa na draw nyingine kati ya viumbe hawa kwa sababu wanaogopana kwamba nani ambaye ataweka kimiani. Akiweka wa kwanza game inaisha hivyo.
Na bila shaka Douglas Mokaya atakuwa anategemewa sana upande wa Bidco United. Hali kadhalika Darius Msaga na uwezo wa kufunga, na uwezo wa kuzalisha magoli, na uwezo wa kufanya chochote uwanjani.
Nadhani katika watu ambao wamesaidia Sofapaka, sio hata coach vile, japo amechangia pakubwa, lakini Msaga amekuwa nguzo zaidi katika timu hii. Uongozi wake kuambia wenzake kwamba tunaweza tukafanya hivi, tunaweza sio mwisho wa game, tuna mechi ifuatayo, kwa hivyo tujaribu kuamka, ile kuhamasisha. Mokaya tumemwangazia katika mwezi mzima huu wa pili na amekuweko kidedea pale juu, kwa sababu kiukweli Bidco United wakati wamelemewa zaidi, ukijana na kam kwenye show na anawasaidia pakubwa.
Bila shaka alifunga bao nzuri sana.
Ndio hiyo sasa, kulemewa anakuja anawasaidia. Maana yeye anajua na ile experience ambayo anayo Mokaya, amechezea klabu kadhaa na unapata kwamba anajua saa ngapi, wakati upi na kocha anataka nini.
Mechi nyingine itakuwa inahusisha Kakamega Homeboyz, watakuwa wanatoka Ingo wakielekea Talanta, FC Talanta katika mechi itakayochezwa katika uwanja wa Kasarani Annex, na Kakamega Homeboyz walitoka sare 0-0 na FC Leopards.
Lemoka, lazima Talanta wawe makini sana. Kakamega Homeboyz wanakuja na makasiriko ya kukosa kushinda mechi ile ya derby. Japo ilikuwa ngumu, ndio sikatai, lakini anakuja akijua nimeamka. Japo ana ushindi mmoja tu katika mechi 5, pia sio rahisi. Pande mwingine Talanta hivyo. Kwa hivyo wanatoshana nguvu kidogo. Ndio maana unapata bao ni moja mtungi, mabao ni 2-1, maana wote wanajua pinzani wangu sio mdogo. Na hicho ndio kitu ambacho ligi inajenga, kwamba tusiwe na timu kidogo ambazo ni kubwa na alafu tuwe na timu zingine ndogo ambazo ni viumbe wanyonge. Na hii inakupatia taswira kamili ya namna ligi inavyokuwa.
Na kupatia taswira kamili ya jinsi ligi inavyokuwa, lakini FC Talanta kwa upande wao watakuwa wanamtegemea captain wao Kuta. Atakuwa anategemewa sana Augustine Kuta wa FC Talanta, na Hilary Otieno upande huu wa Kakamega Homeboys pia atakuwa anategemewa vizuri sana kando na Shuma.
Ukiwa na mchezaji kama Hilary ambaye anajitokeza katika mechi kubwa kama derby, basi anakuwa yeye ni wa kutegemewa siku zote, na anaonesha weredi kwa mechi ile tunaita ndogo na kubwa. Alikuwa mzuri katika mechi hii ambayo imepita, na kiukweli alileta mshawasha mbele ya lango la Leopards. Na wakati huu nafikiri Kuta ndio anaweza kuwasaidia. Hata hivyo siku hizi hakuna cha nyumbani wala cha away. Otieno nadhani anaweza kupata kusmile baadaye.
Katika uwanja wa Raila Odinga Stadium itakuwa ni kizaazaa kwa sababu Shabana FC watakuwa ndo wenyeji wa Bandari. Kumbuka Bandari walikuwa wamesafiri kuelekea Western kule Bungoma katika uwanja wa Sudi kucheza na Nzoia, wakaandikisha ushindi wa magoli 2. Leo hii wanacheza na Shabana. Shabana walipoteza mechi yao dhidi ya Polisi.
Samio Mwolo Pamzo anawaambia nipeni wakati tujenge timu. Mashabiki nao kwa upande mwingine wanamwambia kwamba hapa hii Torebobe si ya mtu, ni ya mashabiki. Lazima kila mtu anahusika katika hii timu. Kwa hivyo Pamzo wako na pressure kubwa sana ya kuhakikisha kwamba anashinda. Hata hivyo ni ngumu kucheza na timu ya Bandari ambayo imeanza kufanya vizuri katika mechi za ugenini. Ukiangalia wachezaji ambao wanafanya kweli katika kuleta crossi, wanapenda kutumia mipira ya nje sana kwa sababu wako na wachezaji wenye umahiri, na hiyo inaweza kuwaumiza Shabana ambao wao wanataka wazuie mpaka game ishe.
Bila shaka inaweza kuumiza Shabana kwa sababu katika mechi zao 3 walizocheza nyumbani hawajaweza kuandikisha ushindi, ikizingatiwa tena Bandari wamekuwa katika good trajectory wakicheza mechi zao za ugenini. Juzi tu wamewapiga Nzoia Sugar.
Wamewapiga Nzoia Sugar. Na unajua sasa, angalia pia hata Shabana mwenyewe alipata alama na mabao mengi dhidi ya Nzoia Sugar. Lakini kiukweli ni mechi ambayo itakuwa kubwa, na Shabana mimi naona kocha anaweza tembea baada ya hii game. Mimi nasema hayo ni yangu tu. Mimi naona mashabiki wataleta tabu tena. Lakini unaweza kujiuliza, je, ni haki kwamba mashabiki walete pressure namna hiyo?
Mashabiki unajua wao kazi yao wanataka
na wanajitokeza
kushinda.
Wanajitokeza kusupport timu. Wanauliza ni nini mbaya? What is the problem? Kwa sababu sisi tunaona mko vizuri. Sisi tunakuja kwenye uwanja na nimewaona wametembea, wamekuja mpaka police the other day. Wamekuja wameenda kule Ulinzi State. Wanawasaidia sana wachezaji, lakini matokeo inakata.
Walikuwa wamesema kulikuwa na mabango ambayo yalikuwa yameandikwa hapo, the only people who are serious ni mashabiki wa Torebobe. Haya, wachezaji ambao watakuwa wanategemewa upande huu wa Shabana bila shaka, Ezekiel Omuri kijana mdogo mzuri sana. Francis Kahiro wa Bandari FC amekuwa akicheka na nyavu muda na wakati wote anapostahili.
Unajua ni kwa nini Ezekiel anafanya vizuri? Ni kwa sababu amepewa muda mrefu, amepewa nafasi ya kujionyesha, na kwa hivyo kila baada ya mechi anapata umahiri unaongezeka, na yeye anasema mimi sitaki kukaa kwenye bench, lazima nionyeshe coach kitu tunafanya. Na ukimwangalia miaka yake inampa uhuru na uwezo wa kuendelea kushikilia timu hii ya Shabana. Hata hivyo hawezi kufanya kazi peke yake, lazima wachezaji na kocha warudi kwenye drawing board, waangalie namna gani wachezaji kama hao wanaweza kuimarishwa na wapatiwe nafasi ya kuweza kuendelea kushikilia timu.
Dakta, hao ndo wachezaji ambao watakuwa wanaangaziwa tena sana katika michuano ama mechi za raundi ya 23. Ezekiel Omuri hapo, hali kadhalika Francis Kahiro. Hii unaitizama ni FKF Premier League preview. Tutakwenda kwenye mapumziko mafupi sana, ndio mafupi sana, usiende mbali. Kwa mara nyingine tena, karibu tena sana katika FKF Premier League Preview Show, na ni hapa tu ambapo unapokea jazanda na picha kamili ya yale yote ambayo yanakusudiwa kuweza kufanyika katika mechi za raundi ya 23 zitakazopigwa Machi tarehe 2 na Machi tarehe 3. Tulikuwa tunazungumzia teams ambazo zinajimoya uwanjani leo hii. Pia kuna Kariobangi Sharks na Nairobi City Stars. Kariobangi Sharks wamekuwa wazuri sana, lakini wametoka sare mechi nyingi
sana, lakini pia Kariobangi Sharks nao mimi nasema wako tu serious kidogo, maana wana uwezo, wanaweza kumiliki ngoma. Wakati mwingi ukiangalia hizi mechi ambazo wamepoteza, hata mechi dhidi ya FC Leopards walikuwa wako juu sana, walimiliki mpira sana, lakini mwisho wa siku FC wanatumia zile nafasi, zile chances ambazo wanapata. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ngumu. Nairobi City Stars wakiwatumia wachezaji ambao wako vizuri, kina Kapen kwenye upande wa kushoto, wa kulia, inakuwa rahisi sana, na huenda wakawa duaza sana Kariobangi Sharks, kwa sababu wao ni watu wa kugonga ndio, lakini mwisho hakuna matokeo na inabidi wageuze namna.
Bila shaka na nyumbani hawafanyi vizuri Kariobangi Sharks.
Imewakataa nyumbani. Ukiangalia mara ngapi ambapo wameshinda nyumbani, inakuwa ni ngumu, na wao wenyewe wanajua kwamba hii ni shida, lakini ukitaka kujua watu ambao wana improve, lazima baada ya mechi mketi chini, mjadiliane, mrudi uwanjani, mfanye mabadiliko, mrudi mkiwa sawa.
Na kocha Muluya anasema kwamba ni sharti sasa waweze kuweza kuanza kushinda mechi Kariobangi Sharks. Kariobangi Sharks watakuwa wanamtarajia mchezaji kama Makwata Mark, mzoefu sana,
mzoefu kabisa, na ile uzoefu wake ndo analeta kwenye timu baada ya kuweza kuwasajili wachezaji kadha wa kadha kina Mata, lakini unaona wanakaa kwenye kiti. Sijui kwa nini wanaweka kwenye kiti wachezaji wenye ubunifu kama hao. Mkiangalia yeye ni kama Bernard na wale watu ambao yeye anachezesha, wale ambao wanamfurahisha, na ndio mojawapo ya vitu ambazo zinamwangusha. Ukiangalia Owino, niseme nini? Assist, mabao, kila wakati unapata kijana anajituma na akona uwezo. Kina Yuto wamekuja, wako na ile tunaita aggression, na wanaweza kufanya vizuri na kuwaduaza wana Sharks.
Bila shaka mechi ambayo itakuwa inapigwa siku ya pili ya Machi itakuwa ni Muhoroni Youth FC wakicheza na Tusker FC. Tusker FC kwa sasa wanaingia katika raundi hii ya 23 wakijua mambo ni yente.
Kocha Matano amepewa kuwa kocha bora wa wiki hii iliyopita, raundi ya 22.
Ndio.
Na ukimwangalia amepiga win, ndio amelemewa na Bidco na Gor Mahia, lakini naeleweka. Hata hivyo Muhoroni Youth lazima wawe makini, kwa sababu hawajashinda mechi yote katika mechi 5 ambazo zimepigwa.
Na Muhoroni
angalia
draws
wanapiga tu draw 3 hapo, wanapoteza mara 2. Inakuwa ngumu, lakini wanajaribu kushikilia viumbe kama kina KCB ndio, lakini draw ya nini sasa? Tunataka ushindi. Kwa mechi 5 kila wakati timu inapokuwa haina ushindi hata mmoja, unajua tuko chini,
inakuwa ni vigumu sana,
kwa ngumu.
Haya, tuangalie ni wachezaji wapi ambao watakuwa wanapigiwa upato kuweza kuwasaidia Muhoroni Youth, hali kadhalika Tusker FC. Jackson Green wa Muhoroni Youth pamoja na John Njuguna. Huyu tumemtaja sana John Njuguna, ana uwezo wa kufunga, ana uwezo wa assist, ana uwezo wa kutumia zile set pieces.
Kweli.
Jackson Green pia
yeye upande wa Muhoroni Youth ni vile tu anakosa wasaidizi, ile tunaita supporting cast, na inakuwa ngumu wakati mchezaji ni mzuri kivyake, lakini inakuwa yeye ndio anaonekana kila wiki yeye ndiye anaonekana. Lakini kidogo pia mimi huona Muhoroni Youth ni kama kuelekea dakika za mwisho huwa wanapoteza nafasi na wanakuwa wako weak. Kwa hivyo katika kuwa fit inakataa, hawana misuli ya kufikisha dakika 90, na hicho lazima kocha kiangazie pakubwa. Kwa sababu mchezaji unapomwangalia mwingine unaona ameshika kiuno, inakuambia kwamba huyu mchezaji hayuko fit. Na niliona katika mechi yao iliyopita, sitaki kutaja, lakini wajaribu kukimbia, wajaribu kujinoa, wawe fit, wacheze mpaka dakika 90.
Wacheze 90. Katika mechi nyingine, kaimu kocha wa polisi Salim Babu alikuwa amesema kwamba labda Shabana wangeweza kuwapatia upinzani mkali. Leo hii watakuwa wanacheza na wanabunduki wenzao Ulinzi.
Sijui tuite derby pia hii.
Ni derby.
Hao watu wanakuwa na mambo kwanza mtandaoni. hawa ndugu wanakuwa wako na maneno. Hata hivyo ukiangazia mechi iliyopita kulikuwa na mambo mingi. Wakati huu ulinzi ni mandugu na Kenya Police, lakini ukifika uwanjani hiyo haina hiyo kabisa, ati nyinyi ni mandugu, inakuwa ni ngumu. Na mimi nafikiri kwamba wakati wote Kenya Police imewapatia upinzani mkubwa Ulinzi Stars, na wakati huu wasipojichunga, wasipojiangalia, unajua Kenya Police inang'ang'ana kumaliza juu ya Ulinzi kwa sababu wanajua hata kama ni ndugu wakubwa, sisi hatutambui, tunataka kumaliza juu yenu, na katika kuwapiga kwenye hii mechi wanafungua alama kati yao.
Msururu wao ni mzuri sana ukitizama. Msururu wao ni mzuri sana. Mechi 5 kati ya mechi 5 walizocheza hivi karibuni wametoka sare moja peke yake wakicheza na Posta Rangers 0-0. Mengine walikuwa wakishinda vijana wa Kenya Police dhidi ya Ulinzi, wametoka sare
piga Gor. Wamesimamisha unbeaten run ya Gor Kenya Police. Kwa hiyo morale inaweza waletea kwenye derby, wajaribu kutafuta ushindi.
Alvin Mangeni wa polisi, hali kadhalika Leshan Motian wa Ulinzi Stars, ndo baadhi ya wachezaji ambao wanaangaziwa sana katika mechi hii.
Mimi nafikiri lazima hata kikosi cha timu ya taifa lazima muangalie sana huyu kijana, kwa sababu wanajaribu sana kujiweka pazuri katika kuchukuliwa na kuandaliwa katika mechi za kimataifa, na wanapokuwa katika vilabu vyao wanaonekana, isipokuwa kwamba sijui labda wanachechemelea wapi baada ya ligi kuisha. Hata hivyo ni wachezaji ambao kiukweli watasaidia katika klabu zao.
Baada ya mechi hiyo derby ya Kenya Police na Ulinzi, kuna derby nyingine ambayo itakuwa inachezwa. AFC Leopards wanachuana na vijana wa Nzoia Sugar.
Na ndio tunasema isiwe ni derby ni ya Gor Mahia na AFC. Hii ni nyingine sasa. Nzoia wana sukari. Hapo wako chini, walipata tu ushindi dhidi ya wana mafuta kidogo, lakini ukiangalia AFC wana uwezo mkubwa kwa sababu pia wanakuja katika game ambayo wanajua walilemewa sana na Homeboys, hawakuweza kupata alama zote. Kwa hivyo itakuwa ni kitu ambacho Nzoia lazima wajipange, hasa katika kuhakikisha kwamba hawatashuka. Kuna alama 16 kwenye ligi, na iwapo angalau hata wakipata draw na AFC itakuwa mahali pazuri. Labda ushindi haiwezekani, lakini wana uwezo wa kufanya vizuri.
Bila shaka. Na kwa taarifa yako mtazamaji, kikosi hicho cha Trucha, kocha Trucha, yani AFC Leopards, katika mechi 21 walizocheza wamefunga magoli 19 peke yake na wakafungwa magoli 15. Hivyo basi leo hii watakuwa wakiangazia kuona, je, Nzoia Sugar wamesimama kivipi. Wachezaji ambao watakuwa wanapigiwa mfano hapa, Victor Munee amekuwa mchezaji ambaye amekuwa akiwabeba kila siku vijana wa AFC Leopards. David Simiyu tumemuona uwezo wake pia hapa wakati ukicheza na Bandari, alikuwa mmoja kati ya wachezaji waliokuwa katika orodha ya wachezaji waliofunga.
Kina Simiyu ni watu ambao kidogo hata mwisho wa ligi hautaona tena katika zile klabu, kwa sababu wameonyesha weredi wao. Nafikiri ni baadhi ya wale ambao wanaskautiwa, wanaangaliwa na kuondolewa katika zile timu zao ambazo tunaziita ndogo. Hawa ni watu ambao hata timu ikiwa relegated hawezi
kosa klabu. KCB na Murang'a, mambo yatakuwaje?
Nyingine kubwa. KCB japo wako na tunasema labda kila kitu, wamekuwa chini. Murang'a nao wametoka katika kupata ushindi katika mechi 5. KCB hawajashinda katika mechi 5 ambazo zimepita. Nani hapa itabanana, itakuwa ngumu. KCB wanajua Murang'a pia wao uteleza, sio timu kubwa pia.
Na kwa mara nyingine tena Barnabe, wanasema person of interest, Yes. Leo hii si hata wachezaji wa kutegemewa, person of interest. Kwa wiki ya pili mfululizo tena tunamwangazia Bernard Mwalala.
Ana kazi na pia amejaribu kuisaidia timu hii, ndio anang'ang'ana, lakini nafikiri ana kazi katika weekend hiyo kisha kwamba anatafuta ushindi at least kwa mara ya kwanza katika mechi 5. Na kuangalia mchezaji ambaye ana uwezo wa kubeba timu ni ngumu. Kocha, wakati mwingine unasahau kuhusu wachezaji, unaangazia kocha mwenyewe. Timu inapokuwa inafanya vizuri namna hii, vibaya namna hii,
unaangazia kocha,
maana wachezaji sasa utasema nini?
Haya, tuangalie basi jinsi utabiri labda utakapokuwa. Tuanze na wewe.
Nianzie mimi nianzie mimi jamani. Gor Posta Rangers niliwapatia draw kwa sababu nafikiri itakuwa mechi kubwa, mechi ngumu. Bidco itapoteza dhidi ya Shabana, alafu Talanta itadraw dhidi ya Homeboys, alafu Shabana kunradhi, Talanta dhidi ya Homeboys 1-1. Kisha Shabana na Bandari pia niliona ni kama watadraw 0-0. Timu yangu kubwa, timu the mighty, nikawapatia ushindi wa 2-1 dhidi ya Sharks. KCB pale chini namaliza, naona wataitandika Murang'a 1-0.
Haya, ndivyo hivyo ubashiri wa Barnabe sawia unalandana na wangu. Gor Mahia na Posta Rangers, hiyo ni mechi kubwa. Naona kutakuwepo na uhaba wa magoli.
Nani amekopi mwingine? Sasa wewe pia umeweka moja.
Kutakuwa na uhaba wa magoli pale, alafu Sofapaka huenda wakaandikisha ushindi na kutakuwepo na magoli hapo, nikawapatia Sofapaka magoli 2. Kakamega Homeboys na FC Talanta baada ya kutoka sare ya 0-0 na FC Leopards, labda watakuwa na uwezo wa kuweza kuwapiga Talanta, lakini mechi itaishia sare ya 1-1. According to me, Shabana FC wamekuwa wakisuasua, Bandari wamekuwa wakifanya vizuri na wataandikisha ushindi wa magoli 2 kama walivyofanya dhidi ya Nzoia Sugar. Kariobangi Sharks na Nairobi City Stars ni derby hiyo ya wana Nairobi hawa. Inaweza kuwa na magoli 2 pekee, 1-1. Tusker FC wamekuwa wakionyesha ari na nia ya kuweza kufunga magoli. Wanacheza dhidi ya Muhoroni Youth. Tumeona Muhoroni Youth wakiwa pia wanasuasua Tusker. Upande wa kufunga magoli ni mwapatia magoli 3 katika mechi hiyo. Ulinzi Stars na Polisi, derby kubwa sana, 1-1. Alafu Nzoia Sugar na FC Leopards, katika derby hiyo pia FC Leopards watajitahidi pakubwa kuweza kushinda Nzoia Sugar, japo itakuwa ni mechi ngumu. Alafu KCB pia nikawapatia magoli 2 dhidi ya Murang'a Seals.
Lakini Lemoka, kwa nini unanichukia sana na City Stars yangu? Bro, draw surely, unaweka draw ya 1-1. Yaani huwezi ona kama watashinda? Hebu tangaza msimamo wako leo hapa pia tujue.
Hapo
FC. Tangaza msimamo hapa.
Hatari sana. Haya, sijui wewe mtazamaji basi ubashiri wako ni upi, lakini kuwa nasi moja kwa moja katika FKF Premier League preview show. Tutakuwa tunaangazia mengi sana na kupatia picha kamili ya kipi ambacho unastahili kukitegemea. Tunafika mwisho wa show.
Tumemaliza. Twende zetu. Nafikiri ligi itakuwa kali kwa sababu angalia vile hakuna nafasi katikati ya timu tofauti, hasa top 10. Kwa hivyo yeyote anapigwa inakuwa ngumu.
Asante sana Barnabe kwa muda wako.
Asante pia kwa nami.
Na asante sana pia mtazamaji kwa utazamaji wako. Tufanye hivi tena juma lijalo muda na wasaa kama wale, wakati tunakwenda katika breaki. Mengi mazuri yatakuwa yanakuja katika preview na review show. Mimi ni Isaac Lemoka. Bye bye.
In the name of Jesus Christ, Mungu anatarajia ukanyange hatua mbele. Wengine wametawaliwa na uchawi, wakati wao umefika. Wewe umenitazama siku ya leo. Neema na kibali cha Bwana kikawe juu ya maisha yako.
Ushaipata na ule mama anafanya kazi kwa Mama Feli?
Maya Vale hatuna shida naye, inakuaje amekuwa involved?
Huyo mwanamke ni kama mchawi.
Kuna evidence? Na nikuulize, hii Biblia wewe unasoma, wewe inakusaidia kweli?
Haki, usianzishe vita leo tafadhali.
Kama inakuaga inakusaidia, ungekuwa mke mzuri sana sasa.
Mambo yenu na Jeni imefika wapi?
Kila kitu kwa sawa. Next week pia inafanya mpeleke date.
Huyo jamaa wako anatafutwa na polisi.
No, this is a man you are ahead over hills in love with. You even got pregnant for. For all I care, he can rot in jail. Jane, what exactly are you trying to tell me? Pete is still seeing that woman.
Unaye pia madharau yake imezidi sasa.
Well, that's why I want to leave Pete for good.
Hapana. Mwanaume hawezi kusnachiwa kama hataki. Kwani yeye ni kibeti?
I just want my respect.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah.
Allah anasema inamsabihi mbingu saba na ardhi na kila kitu kilichokuwa katika mbingu na ardhi, na hakuna kitu chochote kinamsabihi Mwenyezi Mungu. Lakini nyinyi wanadamu la tafqahuna tasbihahu, hamjui, hamsikilizi zile tasbihi zao. Mavazi uliovaa, kiatu, kila kitu kinamsabihi Allah, lakini wewe ukiambiwa msabihi Mwenyezi Mungu uko busy.
Hivi basi kama wanadamu ambao tumejaliwa neema ya kuwa na akili timamu na pia kufahamu mema na maovu, mbona tusimwabudu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
OK。就像墨子说的，天空是内层壳，上面有大量小洞。
叔叔，现在不准吸烟。
好，没想到我见证了墨子文明的毁灭，伟大的天文现象，太伟大了！这个游戏太伟大了。时间的尽头。
is one of Johannesburg's most desirable and historic suburbs. With its extensive trees and lush parks, it is truly one of the most alluring places to call home. Today, I'm visiting the remarkable Mod House, a modernist residence from the 1930s perched atop the Parkview Ridge that has been renovated to accommodate contemporary lifestyles. But before we tour through this architectural masterpiece, we see how Afrofuturism meets bold glamour with Mzigi Simbani's designs out of South Africa. We meet Malawi's female Willy Wonka at her own chocolate factory. Then, learn how mobile cinema is changing the game for filmmaking in Nigeria. I'm Shudufazo Mosida, and you are watching Afromax. Soaring above the Masai Mara in a hot air balloon is a rare privilege and a dream. But for Captain Joyce Beckwith, it's just another day on the job. She's a trailblazer in every sense of the word and takes pride in showing the beauty of Kenya from the air.
The Masai Mara by air. A spectacle above one of Africa's most famous national parks. For Captain Joyce Beckwith, it's another day in her office in the skies. She became the world's first licensed black female hot air balloon pilot in 2019. Colleagues call Beckwith Captain Smiles for her infectious smile.
I knew that I was going to be the first Kenyan pilot, or female pilot, to get the balloon, but I did not realize that I was actually going to be the first black woman in the world to do this.
She caught the ballooning bug from her husband's family, who are generational balloonists. But ballooning is a very niche market. There isn't even a training program for it in Kenya. So, to take things to the next level, Captain Smiles earned her license at a special flying school in the United States. There's even a mural of her at the International Balloon Museum in New Mexico.
I'm archived. So every time people go and send me pictures, you know, they always say, I went to see the Smiles Beckwith. You know, it's just a mural of me.
The 35-year-old spends most of her early mornings showing visitors the heart-stopping magic of sunrise above the Masai Mara National Park. But at prices of around $400 per person, it's a luxury only few can afford. As the untamed wilderness stretches below, antelopes canter, birds sing, and a light wind blows. For most, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Just ask Kenyan stand-up comedian Eunice Wanjiru, aka Mamito, who gave herself a very special birthday present.
I flew with Captain Smiles, and let me tell you, she's amazing. She's excellent at what she does. She is a professional. And when you are there with her, she's such a vibe. And Akwambia, there's an antelope telling you, like she's flying and telling you the animals at the same time. That's amazing. And she knows them from afar.
Hot air balloons work on a simple physical principle. Once the air inside the balloon is heated, it gets lighter than the cooler air on the outside, which causes it to float upwards. The hot air balloon flies in the direction of the wind, but the pilot can control the movement by using the burners to change its temperature and navigating the winds at different heights. Captain Smiles has been flying high since 2019 and so far has logged 200 hours.
When I am flying, I can only describe it as freedom. I can describe it as, you just have to fly. You just have to come fly with me to know what I'm talking about. Also flying in Masai Mara, you have animals around, the environment, the fresh air circulating in the morning, from all the nice green savanna. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Captain Smiles is a trailblazer in the truest sense of the word. She's shattered a glass ceiling for women in aviation and helped show off Kenya to the world at one of its finest moments. Sunrise above the Mara.
Johannesburg's Rebel Base Collective is a multidisciplinary design and production hub focused on architectural and spatial innovation. Their design of Mod House proves just that. I'm joined by the managing director and principal, Vedant Maharaj. Hello, Vedant. This is an architectural heaven. How did you become the architect on this project?
Well, it's an interesting story, Shudu. I was at a meeting and our client was there, our soon-to-be client was there looking at the house, and had been talking about it. It's a 1930s house, and I'd seen it before and I clearly loved the house and had some ideas, and she came and approached me and said, well, you clearly see this house and you know what it's supposed to feel like, or will you be my architect? So I said yes, and we are here a couple of years later with a beautiful house that's done.
How did you approach functionality and also creating aesthetically pleasing spaces?
Well, I think a lot of it was about the brief and what the house gave us. We knew we needed to open up the house. It was quite closed. We needed to open it up for the views. And then we needed to try and create a flow that felt intimate for just a few people to be in the house, but that could also be used for lots of people without it being cramped. So we started with the brief of the client and also just the things that the house told us, like, break me here, but don't touch this. And we struck a balance of all of the constraints around it.
Tell us about the sustainable aspects of this place.
So I think the first thing with sustainability in a house like this is, when we look at it, you look for the path of least resistance, and you look at the house itself and how much it has to offer and what you can use of the existing materials. So whether it's the floors or the wood and the paneling, you try and salvage it and reuse in the house. So the house has many elements of the old house that have been reinterpreted or reused. Firstly, you're obviously working with an old house. We tried to demolish as little as possible and gain as much as we could. I think the next thing is, a big criticism would be concrete. We use all this concrete, it's unsustainable. We think about it in a different way. If you use concrete well and it's beautiful and it's going to be there forever, then make it the best you can, because then you're making art. And for us, it's that if you're leaving a piece of art that's there forever and you're using something that's maybe not sustainable as best as you can in that way, then it all of a sudden becomes a sustainable thing. And as you'll see in the house, it's basically like an art gallery. And part of the brief was we need to have space to enjoy all of this art that before this house didn't really have a place to be viewed.
Now I have to ask, what are the homeowners' favorite features of this house?
The features are debatable at this point. We have this conversation every once in a while with which one's the favorite. I think the vanity bar is definitely on the top of the list. You'll see that it's got really beautiful finishes, it's got a strong space, and it's really warm, and it's right by the pool, so it's got incredible view from the bar. I'd say the main bathroom upstairs is also quite special. It's like, I suppose the whole master suite is just this haven for someone to be in.
Vidan, thank you so much for joining us here today and taking us through this beautiful space. Imprenzere is a visionary Afrofuturistic fashion brand that aims to pay homage to the rich history and cultural heritage of Africa. With its ethos, Leave a Mark, it reflects the brand's commitment to leaving a long-lasting impact. Enjoy.
These internationally acclaimed garments announce this is our Africa and these are our stories. Afrofuturism meets bold glamour. That's one way to describe Umzukizi Umbane's iconic and exuberant design style.
I fell in love with the idea of prints when I looked into African stories, or the idea of just being this designer that explores African identity. For me, I looked around and I was so upset when I realized we have such a strong African print identity, but none of that is ours in terms of like who got to create those prints. I decided from there on that I'm going to create my own prints. I'm going to make sure that our stories, our heritage is tied into something that we can actually own and say we have created ourselves.
Established in 2015, his brand's distinct print has made its way on runways across the globe, from Milan to Lagos, paying homage to African ancestry and staying true to his brand's ethos. Leave a mark.
I've always been excited by creating something different, taking something and pushing it to what I imagine it becoming, and that's the futuristic element. So the futuristic is the pushing fashion forward. The Afro element is me taking from our ancestors, and just the luxury element is the beauty of it all. It's the Africa in it.
Behind all the glam, this is where the hard work of conceptualizing, planning, and fabric cutting happens.
Behind the scenes, I still prefer to be very much involved. I would be conceptualizing a client item or doing something for Fashion Week. I would be cutting the fabric, selecting the fabric, and then the rest of the production is what we outsource to the manufacturers that we work with. I'm a creative, but I operate in the business of fashion. So it's very important for me to understand that, for instance, when I'm creating this dress, is it gonna sell? Is it gonna move in a way that's comfortable for the client? When I'm choosing certain fabrics, for instance, the fabric that I'm wearing is the same print, but it's a different choice when I'm choosing for a blazer or for a dress. So those elements are very important, and that's where you have to also factor in costing. Those things are very important too. This is Thai silk. It's used to create one of my favorite imprint dresses, made popular by Shudu Miss SA 2020. When she wore the dress, people just flew, and everyone just wanted to be part of that Shudu dress. And as a result, we called it the Queen dress. The important element in the iconic print, the Inkomo ya Bengoni, which basically means the Ngoni cow. For me, the most important or the very exciting element was the different connections of Ngoni people with the cow throughout Africa. As a Ngoni in South Africa, we slaughter the cow. The cow represents families coming together. We slaughter the cow when someone has died. It represents something that's very important for the families.
An accountant by profession, Umzekisi took a leap into the fashion world he had always loved. And when he was scouted during a fashion internship, he quit his accounting position and his fashion journey officially began.
as a self-taught designer who came in the industry with sort of like nothing, no resources, no skill, nothing, to be recognized by brands that have existed for hundreds of years, to be like, we want to work with you, that's amazing.
Lovers of contemporary African excellence make up Mzukizi-Mbane's client list, as do the bold and daring.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
I feel good,
Nox is one of my longest standing clients. It's always exciting and interesting and also challenging in a way, because she pretty much has every imprint dress that exists. So with this one, I wanted to sort of like introduce something that she's familiar with, but elevate it. There's a royalty element in it with the high collar, which we usually do. Since the summer, we kept it very light, sleeveless, and then because of the event that she's going to a wedding. We're not really sure about how the bride is going to feel, because this is beautiful, but I wanted to keep a silhouette that is very classic, that is very beautiful, that says I'm at a wedding.
Why do I keep coming back to imprint?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's been great since it started. We made it a coffee shop, and I had an emergency. I had a wedding, and I bumped into this guy. I was like, what do you do? He's like, I design clothes. Like, great shot, I need a dress. And it's been like that since 2015. I keep coming back here, and I think he understands me, the quality of his work, the beauty of it. And I just like that I can always come to him with crazy concept, and he'll just make it come true.
What gorgeous and bold designs, truly an inspiration to the South African fashion scene. Call her Wezi Wonka, because Wezi Mzumara has her own chocolate factory and is Malawi's first official cocoa farmer and chocolatier in training. Check this out.
I've always loved cooking, so making chocolate and being able to experiment with ingredients that people traditionally wouldn't put in chocolate. We almost put everything in.
Malawi unofficially exports 12 tons of cocoa annually, which is sold on as Tanzanian cocoa. Wezi Mzumara is changing that narrative, one decadent bite at a time.
I'm a cocoa farmer, chocolate maker, and chocolatier in training, and the only one in Malawi that actually does all of the three. A chocolate maker uses the beans and does the whole process of measuring the beans and creating the type of chocolate, whereas a chocolatier takes a ready-made chocolate and creates it into confectionery. Being a chocolate maker is also very scientific in nature, because you're doing the percentages of how much sugar, how much milk, and you have to measure these percentages and look at them so that you don't jam your machines, because if you put like too much of one thing, you'll end up with solid chocolate. I mean, water, liquids, and chocolate are enemies.
Farming comes as naturally as breathing to most Malawians. Across the country, when the rains come, every square inch of vacant land goes towards food production. However, the farm bug seems to have missed Wezi Mzumara. As she grew up, she discovered a love for design and events that led her to have a lauded international career. In 2011, she returned home and found that her parents had planted 5 cocoa trees for her.
We were traveling through Tanzania, and we saw some 2 ladies who offered me 2 pods of cocoa. I brought them here, and I started a nursery.
I was dilly-dallying between 2011, 2013. I was like, okay, let's do 50 more trees. So we planted 50 more trees in 2013, and I was like, well, they're doing quite well in 2017. And then we went off to Tanzania and got a whole 1,000 trees, which is the 1,000 trees that you see now, which are this height. And then since then, we've been adding, so since 2017, we've been adding and adding and adding, and now we've got about 2 hectares of trees.
A cocoa tree can last many years, and our children and our grandchildren can survive with them. With the economy, how it's going at the moment, a cocoa tree is a tree to trust.
What started as a hobby placed Wezi firmly on the path of a new career, where she is said to be Malawi's first and only female chocolatier.
I spent 2020, the whole of 2020 pretty much researching, trying to make chocolate using a blender. Very embarrassing now that I know the science behind making chocolate. It was actually my mum who walked into a shop and she found our first grinders. And she's like, Wesley, come and look at this. And I was like, no, in Malawi, how? Making chocolate is actually a very complicated process. So you've got our 3 machines here, which are grinders. In here, we've got some cocoa beans, and these have been fermented, roasted, and shelled. In the process of making cocoa butter, we use an oil press, and we do a hot press, not a cold press. So a lot of oils you find that you do a cold press for a lot of oils. And with cocoa butter, you do a hot press, which is why the machine is heating up a little bit. And then we'll start making the process of making chocolate. So as a finished product, this is our New Year's special. So when our customers get a little guide as to what's what, so you don't end up biting something and you're like, oh, what's that? Usually our chocolate we grind for 36 to 48 hours. I hear Lindt does 60 hours just to get that smoothness. And it's basically goes in here and the wheels just spin around. And that's pretty much how chocolate is made. So these machines are constantly running. Innovation has changed the way we do business. We no longer rely on having a shop. We've got an e-shop. People can order via WhatsApp. People can pay digitally, which has changed business for us a lot on the continent, I'd say. I've been working really hard, studying in the last year and a half, and obviously starting the building and actually opening a chocolate factory. So I'll be Wazzy Wonka. So when we move into the factory, we'll be able to experiment more with the cocoa bean itself, because we plan on doing 5-course meals, VIP Fridays, which is basically going to be a VIP 5-course cocoa-based meal. This is the beginning of the beauty line, because what we'll be using, what's left in here, it's solid now, but it's going to turn into like a body scrub. So we'll mix it with a few other oils and turn it into sort of like a chocolate body scrub.
Wazzy is constantly experimenting and partnering with local chefs in terms of flavor for her ever-expanding product line. Her natural creative flair and ability to innovate has made her parents proud.
Expensive is one way to describe filmmaking. The latest high-tech cameras and gears are often seen as a must, but this one man in Nigeria is challenging that notion.
There is a saying that the best camera you have is the one in your pocket. This saying has really brought me this far. 2, 1, action. I've shot a lot with my mobile phone. Big weddings, birthdays I shot a campaign video for the governor. I've shot skits, commercials. There is no limit to what you can shoot with your mobile phone. See it like a professional camera and you will shoot anything with it.
Nigeria's Nollywood is considered the world's second largest film industry. Making films in Nigeria doesn't come cheap, but Muyiwa has found a hack that can make the dream of young filmmakers in Nollywood come true.
I know a lot of people want to do this too, but they do not have the access to all of these things. And it's the reason why I'm doing mobile filmmaking. So what you have in your pocket is enough to start, to give you that beginning that you are looking for. So everything is moving well. Do you understand? Mobile cinematography wasn't the goal, actually. The goal is to be on the big screen, using big cameras and everything. Funny enough, I shot a short film with Blackmagic. And then after that one, I fell in love and I wanted to do more. So I reached out to my friends that own the Blackmagic and everything. And they said, oh, we are busy. And I went on YouTube and I started watching, different shorts videos. And I discovered that most of these guys are actually using their mobile phones to shoot it. I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
Muyiwa started taking online courses and gradually expanded his knowledge in mobile filmmaking, a venture that was to change everything, not only for him.
I is really something that has affected Nollywood. It changed, the workflow. That's it, guy. Cut. That's it. So I've been able to impact people basically does not have access or big budget to shoot films by organizing training. I also have courses online where you can learn mobile cinematography and editing. It's a full mobile filmmaking setup for a startup. I won't call me whatever I had the movie, no sound and everything.
Muyiwa's passion to transfer knowledge is evident in the way he takes his time to nurture young filmmakers like Lekon, Jimo, Badmos, and Aziz.
Mobile cinematography is gaining a lot of traction in Nollywood presently. I know vloggers, YouTubers that use their mobile phones to do their YouTube channel. You will think it's camera, it's a mobile phone that they are using. Tomato press record, tomato play action. Mobile filmmaking will definitely make a lot of impact in Nollywood in the future. With your mobile phone, you can tell fantastic story. It's not about the equipment, it's about the person behind the equipment.
You may not have all the budget of a Hollywood blockbuster to create those larger-than-life scenes that we see on the big screens. But now, with a mobile phone, you can still tell your stories and make a mark in Nollywood.
You can shoot it up to 4K. Really, I don't think using mobile phone will cut down the quality of films because some of your cameras cannot shoot 4K. Some of these phones can shoot 4K, even up to 8K. In the near future, some of you will not be using your camera again. You'll be using mobile phone to shoot. Netflix recently approved some mobile phones that you can shoot with to put on their platform. Get cable. They can plug any phone. Things I've shot with my mobile phone has really gone far. I remember in 2020 during COVID, someone reached out to me from the UK. You know what? Shoot a 3-minute video on how COVID has affected your community. My mobile content has also gone to international film festivals with recognitions and 1 or 2 awards, For young people out there, you are thinking to yourself, oh, I need 10 million to shoot that idea. Look beside you. That mobile phone, it's capable of shooting that idea you are thinking of.
The race for mobile phones to shoot high-definition videos is on the increase, and this has helped mobile content makers to sort of be at par with those who use more expensive equipment.
That's all the travel, fashion, and chocolate we have for you today. Why not head over to dw.com/Afrimax. See you next time.
Ili kupata mtoa baraka kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *812 *503#.
Wewe, ni kwa nini unafurahia vipaji ili asiye anayetoa? Kwa nini unapenda baraka, humpendi mtoa baraka? Nauliza, ni kwa nini unapenda mchuzi wa papa ila papa mwenyewe humtaki? Ni busara kutambua kuwa ukimpata mtoa baraka.
Kupata mtoa baraka kama sikiza tune, bonyeza *812 *503#. *812 *503#.
wanatandikwa wale wasee wanapigwa viboko.
Usiniite mzee, mimi wewe mama na huyo mzee. Wewe unafanya nini? Najuaje? Si labda ni bwana huyo mama. Nasikia huyo mzee ni mpishi huko. Sasa na hiyo chakula yote siende ula. Kwa sababu wajua vile nyinyi hufanya watu. Mshtakiwa pili una swali? Hii mbegu mbaya hii. Lazima usikie huzuni maana sasa kuku hutakula.
Sasa ukienda ndani kuku hakuna.
Maisha mazuri Maisha mazuri ya nimekuja kuwa show vile tutafanya.
Heko na watoleni wote mliwarembo, ninawapa namba 1, siwasemi kwa mafumbo.
Bako nalokunuza siende ukainuza, raha za dunia mwana ni karaha na kuambia.
Wenzangu wanieleza akili zinapanuza, mabuku nikicharaza nitakuwa naongoza.
Ni kwamba ni kweli wazazi hawajawapa watoto wao uhuru na nafasi ya kujieleza.
Mzazi anampa mtoto wake nafasi ya kujielezea ndipo amsaidie katika changamoto zake.
Watoto hao wanapotoka kimaadili kwa sababu wazazi wao hawawapi wakati wa kutangamana nao ili watoto wao wawaelezee mambo yanayowasumbua.
Hii ni Sanaa ya Kiswahili katika KBC Channel 1.
Our folktales were also made in such a way that a step parent is wicked, and a step parent is evil. So it came from socialization. If you ask me, the word step is neither good nor bad. It is the meaning that we have given it.
These families or members of these families are the ones that put attitudes in our minds. Because we already start with step. Tena challenge inakuwa kubwa sana kama spouse si supportive. Na ndio spouse akuwe supportive, spouse anakuwa katikati. Alali huku sana na pande hii sana. That already is a diverse way of doing things. There is beauty in diversity.
The government has identified regional development agencies as key enablers and drivers of socio-economic development under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. This week on Inside Government, we are focusing on regional development agencies, their role and the responsibility in driving up economic development at the regional as well as local level. We're joined by the Cabinet Secretary in charge of East African Community, ASAL, as well as Regional Development. This is Penina Malonza. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Of course, for sharing your insight with us. Help us understand, what would you say is the status of regional development agencies in Kenya today?
Well, thank you very much. We have 6 regional development authorities in our country today. They were created by an act of parliament, paper number 2 of 1990, and of course revised in 1992. And basically what these regional development authorities stand for is over time the government looked at the development since independence and they realized that it was skilled. Some regions were still lagging behind in development. And so the government began doing a very concerted efforts so that they can balance the development in the country. And that's when they created these 6 development authorities between 1970 and 1994. They are defined on the basis of their drainage areas, either by large rivers, by lakes, or by large water bodies. And that's why we have, today we have the Coast Development Authority that basically is adjacent to the ocean, which is a large water body. We also have Ewasonyiro North and Ewasonyiro south, of course, attached to the Wasonyiro River. We also have the KFDA, which is Kerio Valley Development Authority, attached to the Kerio Valley River. And of course, we have the Lake Basin, which is now attached to Lake Victoria. So those are the ones that we have. But of course, you know, in our space of regional development as well as arid and semi-arid, we have national drought management that runs across the country, matters drought mitigation. So these are the development authorities that we have in the country, and if you have heard me mention them well, of course, the coast development takes care of the coastal region, the Wasonyiro North, of course, the northern part of Kenya, of course, south taking the other part of Kajiado and all that, Narok, and of course, Rift Valley and Lake Basin taking care of Nyanza. So that's how they are spread across the country. And of course, the greatest aim was for them to initiate and coordinate as well as implement projects of higher magnitudes in terms of multi-purpose projects. And of course, the nature of these integrated development authorities, they are not aligned to administrative boundaries. They run across many other counties. For example, the Coast Development Authority is catering for not only the 6 counties within the coastal area, but extending all the way to Garissa. And so they're not necessarily in one county, but they are traversing over counties. And with this, then they're able to come up with projects that are multi-purpose and can really benefit these multifaceted counties. And so that's where we are. So today we are in Coastal Development Authority, where we are inspecting some of the projects that have been able to do in this country. But I must mention that indeed the development authorities have really done fantastic work for this country. And allow me to quote Kerio Valley Development Authority that was able to do the Takwal Dam, and also the Tana Athi Development Authority. I think that's one more we had left out. And Tana Athi Development Authority was able to do Kiambere and Masinga Dam. And those 3 dams today form the basis, the foundations of hydropower in this country. So they were able to really contribute to the development of this country as a whole in terms of energy sector. And of course, we don't work in isolation. So the kind of projects that they come up with or generate or initiate are projects that are more sectoral. So they don't work alone. For example, if it is the Takwel Dam, they developed the dam, they funded it over to KenGen, they're running it together with the community. So beyond the higher magnitude kind of projects is the other whole agenda of livelihoods. So some of the projects that we're coming up with beyond water, it's in the apiculture, where we're doing quite a lot in the agriculture, in the farming area, irrigation, small farmer irrigation, setups within these counties. So there's quite a lot that they are doing. And for me, I think this is actually the real sector that is going to transform this country. Because I must speak this because I've been a cabinet secretary for Minister of Tourism, and I know there I was just working at looking at how we can attract the foreign exchange to this country. But believe me, when it comes to these development authorities, we are touching the hustler, that person at the bottom. When we teach him how to do fishing or how to generate their own figurelets and then of course grow their population of the fish or in the ponds, or when we do this irrigation, small irrigation in this land where there is no water, and we see again crops doing very well and very high yields. We actually fighting the food insecurity in this country, but we are also changing the livelihoods of the Kenyans.
Very good. You know, when you look at sessional paper number 2 of 1990, which established regional development, I mean, it was very, very detailed, and it captured the fact that regional development agencies were meant to drive economic and social development at the regional level. When you look at it 32 years down the line, do you think this mandate has been achieved?
Well, I agree it has been achieved, because you've heard me mention some of the mega dams that this regional development have been able to do in this country, the Takwal Dam, the Masinga, and of course the Kebere Dam, that not only on the regional basis of spurring the socio-economic development, but also spur the economic growth of the entire country in terms of the energy generation. But I want to believe that if you look at the cost and even the facility that we are in today, this is Mwananchi Cottage, hotel that has quite a number of facilities in terms of conferencing, and it's going to really help this region also grow in terms of MICE, which we call is meeting, incentives, and events in this area. But beyond this is looking at some of the projects that we have, for example, the Mwache Dam that is just coming up. And just thinking about how much a dam and the vision behind it, when the Coast Development Authority began thinking about this Mwache Dam, they looked at the towns of Mombasa and looked at the towns of Kilifi, and they realized in future we'll be in a place where we cannot provide water for these two mega cities that are coming up. Again, if you look at the Boche factory that we have, it is actually enhancing value chain, because it's a mango factory, and basically for us to have that mango factory, there is actually the whole agenda of assisting the communities to begin growing mangoes where they can sell to the factory, and of course the factory of course continues with the value chain. And so we are seeing a lot of change in terms of improvement in the livelihoods of these people. People are actually doing livestock, are also now doing both livestock and doing a little bit of farming of fruit trees that do not need a lot of attention, yet they have economical benefit to the family. And so for me, I think they are really transformative, and I believe they have achieved, they are still achieving. We have not reached there, but they are still achieving the agenda and the purpose that they came into existence for. Yeah.
Some people say that the golden era of regional development is well past us, and they argue that when you look at some of the projects that were established by regional development, like Takwal Gorge, like the Masinga dams, which contributes about almost 90% of the country's hydro electricity in Kenya. Are they right? That the golden era of...
No, I don't think they're right, because of course I must agree that the regional development authorities really were initiated long time before the local governments, before our constitution, to be precise. And by that it means that they never took care of the county government's, operation and probably involvement. But if you look at our county governments, and if you look at what I've just said about these regional development, they transverse counties. And of course, they are anchored on the many natural resources that we have, like rivers, of course, like lakes. And we're trying to look at how, if it's Lake Victoria, how it can benefit not only the Kisumu County, but running all the way to Siaya and all the way to Homa Bay County, where that natural resource can benefit. We come up with a project that is more sectoral, but also traversing across several counties, where these counties can benefit. Remember, these are the counties today, as we speak of the 47 counties, they are running on their own, and they are, defined entities that are actually doing their own operations. And rarely do you find them having these projects that probably are traversing other counties. But you see, this is an opportunity where we can really benefit a lot from the natural resources that we have, especially the water bodies that we have. Yeah.
When you look at the Executive Order number 2, of 1990 that established RDAs, we are talking about more than 30 years ago. I mean, of course, it was revised back in 1992. Is it high time that we looked into policies and regulations around regional development?
Actually, you're very right, and you're speaking like you've been in our offices, because basically that was my assignment number one when I came in November, and we have already developed a policy, because we realized the policy that we are using 30 years ago was outdated. Of course, not 30 years, but the one for 2010 was a bit outdated. By the fact that it has lasted for over 13 years. And so we're coming up with a policy that has already been presented for approval at the cabinet level. And basically what we are looking at, there are two issues there that we are correcting. One is the whole issue of recognizing the new governance that has been entrenched in our constitution, that is the county governments, and defining the role of the county government when it comes to regional development authority. And number two, we are correcting some of the errors and anomalies that were done over some time back, where some of the directorates were actually transferred to other ministries. And actually we saw these directorates for a period of 8 years, they were transferred more than even 3 times. And you know, that messed up the whole plan for regional development. And so those are, that's the new policy that we have, the Development Authority Policy 2023. Of course, we developed it towards the end of, in November. So that is the development. We're also coming up with a bill, the Development Authority Bill, that is already going through participation. And I think one of the contention areas we had was the whole agenda of the counties feeling like they have no role, or basically this should be devolved. And we went through the court process, and they were referred back to the Intergovernmental Technical Committee so that they can define what roles goes to the county governments and what roles is retained by the national government. And I think we are at a very good space today, because already the IGTC has already defined what needs to go to the county government, their participation role, and our whole function, our whole functions that we can do as national government. And we are at an agreement now with the county governments, and I think we are in the final stages now of finally finishing the process, and of course now publishing. But we have this bill that is also going through participation, so that also people out there in the county government can participate and also give their insights on what they feel. Remember again, the 2 levels of government work together, and there's quite a lot of programs that we are carrying out together. By the fact that we began before the new dispensation of the Constitution, most of our RDAs, including Coast Development Authority, have already begun embracing working with the county governments and also working with the communities. So they've really metamorphosed to, to the rhythm of the Constitution, even before putting everything in law. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the aspect of synthesizing regional development with a new dispensation around county government. And governors have in the past said that some of regional development authorities, are clawing into their territories. Mm-hmm. And so this has brought about, a little bit of conflict and tension. Mm-hmm. So this bill, do you think it is a panacea to dealing with the existing tension between some regional development agencies and county governments?
Yeah, it is, because it has been, of course, debated by the county government through the Council of Governors. And I think at this participation level, we are actually throwing the whole agenda to the public so that they can give us their views in terms of what we want to redefine, re-engineer the regional development authorities. So I think this is one tool that is really going to set peace for all of us, and of course not only setting peace but also redefining the roles of the county governments and the roles of the national government. And so I believe this is a shared function because of course everything that besides the policy development, everything else that is done, whether by Minister of Water, by Minister of Agriculture, we're only doing it in the spaces of the county government. And there's no Kenya without the 47, and there's no 47 without Kenya. So I think this is what we need to understand about this country and how we need to operate and how we need to, you know, work together. Because when you look at the capacity of the counties again, for example, if you look at the Takwal Dam, it is not easy for any county just to come up and, you know, resource mobilize, you know, for such a huge program. And again, at the basis of the creation of the regional development authorities, they are defined as per their basins, their drainage areas. So that means we are capitalizing on the water bodies that we have in this country so that we can do development. And basically our major areas of development is actually in the multi-purpose dams that can be used for hydro generation, can be used for irrigation, can be used for domestic. We're also doing a little bit of irrigation where we are actually not doing the large-scale one, especially when we are operating within the communities. But you can see with the Tana Athi, we have already begun the Tana Delta rice growing. And believe me, if it was not El Nino, I mean the whole story of buying, you know, rice from other countries would have stopped with this project. And I want to believe in future, Kenya is going to grow its own rice. We don't have to buy rice. When we have these huge rivers, we have these lakes, no, we need to grow our own food, and we can do that. And we have the capacity to do that through the regional development authorities. Look at Uganda, and our friend there who visited just the other day, at Karamajong, they are doing 2,000 acres of maize and other crops. And they've been able to feed their own country, and now they're asking so that they can sell some to Kenya. Yet in Turkana, we can do the same and supply this country and get this country out of food insecurity that we always cry, and we've been there since independence. Look at Kenya, and I mean China, and I would want to use China. In 1989, they had a severe famine in that country. China today has 1.4 plus. You know, billion people, and this country is able to feed itself. And I can tell you they grow a lot of rice and other crops. Why can't Kenya feed itself? Because over and again we talk of this famine, and I'm very happy that I'm in a ministry that is going to deal with these droughts, that is going to deal with the emergencies of El Nino and all that. And all is about looking at this and these resources that we have, and trying to come up with plans and strategies that we can really use them for the benefit of the people. Look at this just exiting El Nino. How much water was flowing around? A lot of water, causing a lot of damage. It is high time that we think in the spectrums of how we can really harness all this water beyond generational power to even irrigation, to even storage, where we can use this water in future.
The fact that you are bringing in the issue of China, and it is true, you know, we can borrow what is being referred to as the Chinese economic miracle, which has seen the country uplifting more than 700 million people out of poverty in less than 30 years. And when you look at provinces like Sichuan, Heilongjiang, they borrow the concept of regional development to drive socio-economic agenda. And so you have been in this ministry for less than 3 months now.
Yeah.
How do you plan to reinvigorate the RDAs to make them much more efficient, to make them to accelerate their economic development in this country?
Seriously, I agree with you on this regional development. This is an idea that Kenya borrowed. You remember in the history we learned about Tennessee Valley. I believe this is an idea that we borrowed from there, how the valley spurred the development of the country, and you quoted very well China on that agenda. We are actually redefining and re-engineering these regional developments, basically redefining their functions, of course in the essence of time, in the essence of the time of the developments that we've made as a country, one being the Constitution of Kenya that has now given us 2 levels of government, and number 2, re-looking at their strategic niche that they can actually quickly spur development. And I'm very happy that I'm coming into this ministry and in a regime of a government where they are actually emphasizing on quite a number of pillars that are really relevant to the regional development. One of the pillars that we have is the pillar of value addition, creation of jobs and all that. And I believe that if you look at some of the problems that we have in this country or challenges that we have, one is on value addition. We grow a lot of, for example, avocados, but you find that rarely they rot in the farms. Probably we don't have market and all that. So this is the niche as we redefine. And as we formulate the policy and the bill, it will give a very good strategic position for RDS to do well in this country. And of course, taking into perspective of the county government participating and enhancing our work in the region.
Is it in your qualified opinion that we need to expand or merge some of regional development agencies?
Well, we may not merge, but if we go back to what I said, what are some of the projects that they do? They are multi-sectoral. We may not merge because they are defined by their basins or drainage areas. So if you look at coast, basically we're looking at the resources that we have, the natural resources, which could be rivers that are only found in coast, which could be the ocean that is only in coast, and it is not in the Rift Valley. If you go to Lake Basin, we are talking about a natural resource called the lake that we have. And besides using this lake for probably fishing, for tourism and all that, we want to see how we can use this natural resource using a multi-sectoral approach where probably the blue economy will do their work, where probably we'll also do the work of, we will see the tourism also do the water buses and all that. And we maximize the use of this natural resource. And so that is where we may not merge them because Kerio Valley will never, river will never move to any other section of this country. And basically because we are attached to the drainage area and developing projects that are multi-purpose and multi-sectoral, then we may have to retain them the way they are.
When you look at some of the RDAs, and for example, when you look at the Coast Development Authority, you know, it transcends more than 5 counties of this country, which is quite an expansive area. And when you look at the budget, you know, assigned to the authority, you're talking about less than R1 billion shillings. Clearly, what do we then, how then do we expect them to deliver on their mandate when the budget is too constricted?
That's true, but then I'll look at the existence of this Coast Development Authority. How long has it been in space? What have they been able to do? Because let me tell you, what is killing this country is the fact that we don't think outside the box. And this is the high time we need to think outside the box. If forever Kenya has been borrowing money for their budget, this is the time to think, when do we stop borrowing money to run our own development in the country? So we're looking at the sustainability of these regional development authorities so that they can stand on their own and they can fund their programs. Again, looking at some of other programs that we're introducing in coast. For example, we've just done a mango factory in Tana River, And our plan was to work with the farmers so that they can begin now growing mango trees, so that they can bring to the factory, we buy, and then of course we see how best we can support them and grow them economically. So you look at this and you see that, yeah, we've made a step forward, but then we are again affected because we needed to spur. Because remember again, mango trees take some time to grow. But I'm very happy because the president has also introduced the 15 billion trees, and my ministry specifically has been given fruit trees. So I know within this, that space of climate change agenda, then I'll have to draw out a number of mango trees to these communities within this area, because basically we are planting all these trees in the space of Kenya. So if I had a program like that, I'll marry it within the other programs so that I can benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I'm getting from you is that, you know, what you're trying to create is an environment whereby regional development authorities, you know, they become self-sufficient in terms of budget. But before you get there, how do you plan to engage with the National Treasury to ensure that before they become self-sustaining budget-wise, they are well-funded to get there?
Well, we're still working with the National Treasury, and of course, you know where we are coming from. The physical space that we have is not really encouraging, and you know, economically, the country was down for some time, is now in recovery. And so we also want to go with the speed of our government, because you cannot stretch yourself so much, yet you don't have the resources that you need to stretch that much. So we'll go with the speed. We are negotiating, and I want to believe that we will also, as we redefine and re-engineer these RDS, will now begin you know, becoming feasibility in terms of the work that we do, and also redefining that niche or that strategic position that we need to occupy in this country, and of course we are occupying today.
I want to find out from you, what legacy do you expect to leave within the RDAs before you exit?
One is to make them sustainable, as I've said, you know, self-reliance in terms of doing their budget and in their operations. And number two, of course, I want really to define them in terms of their very strategic position in this country. And I'm also very happy because as we do the regional development agenda, we are also doing the other bigger space of region, where we're working with the rest of the countries and coming up with mega projects like the Northern Corridor that are going to see us open our country in terms of trading with the other countries, with our neighbors, of course the other ESC member states, and of course ensuring that we're operating in a peaceful environment, and therefore working on the agenda of peace. As you know, quite a number of our member states are really not stable in terms of peace, and so we're working together, pulling together in the agenda of peace keeping in our territories, and ensuring that we coexist.
Very good.
Yes.
And of course, I know the issue of the East African community is played for, and of course, we'll create more time so that we can have this kind of discussion around EAC with you.
Sure.
And we also know that Somalia is in the process of signing the instrument of ascension, and I will be touching base so that you can give us more information around that. Madam CS, your time is highly appreciated, and we look forward to having you more in the future.
Thank you.
Very good. Asante sana. Well, you see, from San Francisco to Shenzhen in China, which have become major industrial powers in the world, regional development, they have a space in the economic and social development of any country, and Kenya should embrace and embolden regional development authorities to realize their full potential. O'Brien Kimani is my name. Thank you very much for your time. You have been watching Inside Government. Until next week, have a good time.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah.
Allah anasema inamsabihi mbingu saba na ardhi na kila kitu kilichokuwa katika mbingu na ardhi, na hakuna kitu chochote kinamsabihi Mwenyezi Mungu. Lakini nyinyi wanadamu la tafqahuna tasbihahu, hamjui, hamsikilizi zile tasbihi za mavazi uliovaa, kiatu, kila kitu kinamsabihi Allah. Lakini wewe ukiambiwa msabihi Mwenyezi Mungu uko busy.
Hivi basi kama wanadamu ambao tumejaliwa neema ya kuwa na akili timamu na pia kufahamu mema na maovu, mbona tusimwabudu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
How do you say welcome in a language?
No. So today we're making egusi soup with goat meat.
As we allow our egusi to boil, you said it's going to take about 5 minutes, and it's looking so good. I love the color from the palm oil.
We're practically done in mixing it.
Right. Eunice, thank you so much for coming all the way and teaching us how to make egusi soup, the traditional Igbo way. I love it.
CAF Champions League brings together the best of the best in the African football scene this weekend. Champions League, where legends rise. What does it look like to reimagine the possible and change the way that we think about healthcare technology? It looks like the future. A future where we can conduct clinical trials and develop new therapies from anywhere, so we can deliver the right care everywhere. And where physicians and patients are empowered to make more confident decisions with technology that leads to smarter outcomes. It's a future that facilitates innovation and collaboration on an unprecedented scale and orchestrates people, insights, and technology to redefine what's possible as we turn our new ordinary into the extraordinary. The future of healthcare is now. Let's explore it together.
The last 5 years have seen substantial growth in the ICT sector in Kenya. With the devolved government, the counties have been competing on effective and efficient service delivery to the citizenry through innovations, a number of which use digital technologies. The Kenya Constitution of 2010 and Vision 2030 Development Blueprint requires the country to provide the highest attainable standard of healthcare. To fulfill this mandate, the Ministry of Health developed the Kenya Health Policy of 2014 to 2030. One of the revised policy objectives is to plan, design and install information and communication technology infrastructure and software for the management and delivery of essential healthcare. Globally, there are concerted efforts aimed at transforming access,